We have been discussing about the 7 procedures described by Buddha to overcome asava in the last session. Actually, asava is a very important concept because at the time of realization, this skill of removing asava has to be developed by anyone. Purve Nivasa Smriti. If you look at the Trividya, Chittupratisandhi and the Asavakkhaya are the 3 main skills that even a person who develop the mind through the Shadhabhijna or Abhijna path has to follow. So Asavakkhaya is a very important concept which requires removing of asava. But on the other hand, Sabbāsava Sutta is the second sutta in the Madhyama Nikaya, which describe the 7 steps to remove, actually not to remove, to control asava. In addition to Sabbāsava Sutta, there are few other suttas in the Anguttara Nikaya and the Samyukta Nikaya which address the procedures of controlling asava. One sutta, I think, which is in the Anguttara Nikaya, has provided only 6 techniques. And another sutta describe about the Eightfold Noble Path as the path to remove asava. One other sutta describe development of Satipatthana will help to remove asava. But I think we are not going to discuss all those things here because finally they are interrelated and development of one can lead to the other as well. But the sutta which describes 6 techniques and the Sabbāsava Sutta which describes the 7 techniques is more or less same, except Sabbāsava Sutta includes the Dassana Pahatabba, that is attainment of Swan stage. Today, we would like to go through these steps in little more detail, but we have to remember total field of asava removal is a much more broader topic which has to happen at the time of development of the Asavakkhaya Jnana. Even after attaining the Sotāpanna stage, the person does not have a total control of asava. It will help to remove or to control certain type of asava, as part of the three, part of them will not arise because the person has removed the three sanyojana. Sakkaya Ditti Vichikicha Silabbata Paramasa. As we know, so on persons can do even sins. Therefore, only the strong part of asava gets removed by dasana pahatabba. At the time of seeing the Four Noble Truths. I think it is very important to touch on one of the other topics we have discussed earlier, but we have not gone into that much of detail at that time. Today also we may not go into that much of detail, but all the techniques that is described in the Sabbāsava Sutta has a very common phrase, application of yoniso manasikara, and not applying the ayoniso manasikara. As I said earlier, we have touched on this some time back, because the concept of manasikara is generally used for two purposes. What we can apply to remove our asava is yoniso manasikara. But when Lord Buddha or Buddha says, listen to him and apply manasikara, that always does not say it has to be yoniso manasikara. This gives us a very important topic that should be addressed, but I can't give a final word on this because I have not got any explanation given by Buddha clarifying the difference between the two. But the word yoniso, we know, is addressing the origin. So yoniso manasikara should mean addressing the factors related to the origin of manasikara. To clarify this point, we have to go into another, particularly the important concept, which we have touched some time back, but did not elaborate into that much detail. Inside our mind, we have a memory. Probably physically it is somewhat related to the physical memory we have in the brain as well. But what we are interested about the memory of the mind at this time, not the memory of the brain. But we are quite clear that the yoniso manasikara might not be applicable to the structure of the brain. This is something to do with the mind. When we say dasana pahatabba, to see Four Noble Truths. We have to have an approach that is controlled by prajna. It cannot be a process even controlled by the mind, the chitta part of the mind. It has to be prajna, wisdom. So, that requires a fairly deeper development of prajna. I think in Satīpatthāna technique, we have to go into the Dhammanupassana to see the Four Noble Truths. But on the other hand, our method of eightfold path, which is the basic method of explaining the path to Nibbana, after Samma Samadhi, there are two steps, Samma Jnana and Samma Vimukti, which belongs to which is controlled by the prajna, not by samadhi. So it's beyond Samma Samadhi, the fourth absorption. So, this step which involves beyond fourth absorption, Samma Jnana, is essential to reach the sohan stage. To obtain dassana pahatabba. So I think the term dassana pahatabba gives us a very powerful clue with regard to the Yoniso Manasikara concept as well. But on the other hand, when we hear Dhamma, when we store it in our mind, and when we try to clarify it, when we ask questions, when we discuss, all those things are related to Dhamma. But those things cannot be considered as Yoniso Manasikara in general. Because Yoniso Manasikara is a technique that which you have to use to see the reality by penetrating our various layers in the mind. It is different from application of Ayoniso Manasikara. Although we are not using the term Ayoniso Manasikara for our general knowledge in the Dhamma area, any type of discussion based on words will not lead to Nibbana. That's very clear. We cannot reach Nibbana by discussing. It's not a logical conclusion that which we arrive. It's an experience that which we get. We have to look for that. We have to look for that through prajna. So this panya, which leads to our attainment, is the process that involves Yoniso Manasikara. anything other than that should come under Ayoniso Manasikara, although it is not said in general terms. Because, as we know, all those things include words, they are the concepts, Dhamma concepts in certain cases. What Buddha teaches us, what we hear from Buddha. That is why Buddha had told, don't take a word because that I have told you. You have to do your own work and find it out. So Buddha had very clearly said this, although we are not considering it seriously. So I think this Ayoniso Manasikara, Yoniso Manasikara difference is quite clearly expressed in the Sabbāsava Sutta when Dasana Pahatabba is explained, and the other techniques also, we have to attempt to do that. I think this is also related to the description given in the Mūlapariyaya Sutta. Any type of sanya knowledge based to sanya or conceptual knowledge gained through whatever the means is different from the knowledge that the person who had entered so on stage is having. It may not be complete, it is not complete, but still that knowledge is not the knowledge that which we are speaking about through perception. So this Sabbāsava Sutta and Mūlapariyaya Sutta has a very close link. And in fact, at the time of grouping suttas together, they have been introduced one after the other. And it is very important to know this Yoniso Manasikara concept can be clarified through the Sabbāsava Sutta as well as the Mūlapariyaya Sutta by combining them together. Having said that, what I think, we will go into little more detail on the steps that has been recommended in the Sabbāsava Sutta. We have gone through it in last time also, but not into that much of detail. Today, of course, we will go into little more detail. I am not sure whether we can finish the discussion on a deeper level even today. I think Sabbāsava Sutta mention what is mentioned by, what is achieved by going through the process of Ayoniso Manasikara. All the conclusions about that type of world, this type of world, comes under Ayoniso Manasikara. That's what the maybe pre-Buddha scholars were trying to find out through logical conclusions. Probably it includes the several theories explained in the Brahmajala Sutta. As this is a unique experience of achieving the so-on state, once we go through that process, whatever we lose, 3 sanyojana, had been eliminated completely. So at the time of dasana pahatabba, whatever that has been eliminated is eliminated. There is this marga pala, particularly the concept whether it happens is marga stage or pala stage. I think we are not addressing at this stage, but definitely it will happen during the pala stage without any doubt. So once it has been eliminated, it cannot be repeatedly applied. So I think this will lead us to understand the broad application of other techniques as well, but it is different. Other techniques are temporary steps. They will suppress. They will not remove. They will suppress the asava. So with the dasana pahatabba, part of the asava is completely eliminated. Although the descriptions of Sabbāsava Sutta feels we are removing pain of feeling, vedana. But actually the most important part is asava is not a feeling. Asava cannot be a feeling related thing. Asava is a action that lead to sins in general. So when you are removing sabbāsava, asava according to asava according to Sabbāsava Sutta, although the description given in the sutta might mention about some of the painful experiences, it cannot be meant to remove the pain alone. Actually what we are removing is the consequence of the pain. So when we get a pain, we can get angry. So we have to be careful. Although that when we say that we are removing the probably disturbance from mosquitoes, or probably some other, particularly the creatures, or maybe that some of the wounds that which we are facing. What we are removing is not the pain itself. Pain can be there. I am not quite sure. It might become small. It might be less active. But the results of the pain, attachment and aversion, which is backed by of course, the moha. So we have to be careful. Asava does not mean having pain. Suffering from pain is not asava. Asava is the cause that leads to sins that can be caused by the pain. So what we are removing through the asava is the rising of the sinful thoughts, not the pain. We have to very carefully understand. Just like the dasana pahatabba removes the sanyojana, what asava, what the Sabbāsava Sutta provides a technique to remove the defilements that can cause through the pain. But on the other hand, if you look at that the particular descriptions given in the Sabbāsava Sutta verbally usually speaks about the pain in most of the cases, but not all. When you say that you have to, as this is meant for robe, the priest, when you are using robes, when you are eating, when you are drinking, your whatever the your gilampasa, or when you use your bed door, probably that is your senasana, you can get attached to it. So it's very important to understand. Asava is not having the either positive feeling or negative feeling. It is addressing the getting attached or developing aversion. That is why it is a klesha, or it's a defilement. So asava provides potential to create attachment and aversion. In the sutta, I'm just, that's what I said, I might not be able to cover the whole thing today, but we are trying to get the concept broader and broader. So these concepts that has been taught in Buddha are fairly broad, and it's customized to the people or who are listeners. But general concepts are much more broader. So we have to go through it and try to understand it in the broader sense. We have sufficiently covered the dasana pahatabba at this stage, but the next one mentioned in the sutta is samvara pahatabba. We are quite familiar with the term samvara because Indriya samvara silaya, which we are familiar, which we have gone through in several discussions earlier, covers the sense door, eye, ear, nose, tongue and body. To eliminate that one, we are supposed to eliminate that one, which we are supposed to go through the process of not forming the symbol. That also we have discussed. That is related to getting information through sense door. But attachment and aversion goes beyond the sense door activation, which we have discussed into a certain level. Because when we say karma or worldly attachment, we can get attached to doing things. We can get attached to holding. So when a person is not having attachment, at the time of holding a robe, it has a deeper meaning. It's not only the touch sensation. it's hold into it. Of course, we'll go through it little more detail, because when an anagami wanted to get into the Nirodha Samapatti, they can hold, although they don't have a physical particular attachment to the objects, they can hold certain objects and getting into the Nirodha Samapatti. Then the nature can't damage those objects as well. But there is one more special feature that is being mentioned. These are stories, but I think that that it gives a clue to some of the important behavior. Even they don't take a special, they don't create a special intention to hold their robe. Robe cannot be damaged by the fire or whatever things that comes there, because there is a force that which we are holding into the clothes we have, especially even the monks will have that one towards their robe. So it's not the touch sensation. You extend beyond the touch sensation when we say you use your robes without getting attached. So it's I think that that's a very important concept. That I think it comes under the Patisevana Patabba. I can't remember the exact word, but what I think is it's very important to note that actually it has 4 steps. Patisevana Patabba, if I remember the correct word, with regard to the usage of 4 things. Taking food, taking drinks, I think the Gilana Pratyaya means that, and usage of robes as well as the usage of the Senasana. So Senasana and robes, place and the robe, they are external. But these external things you can hold with attachment or without attachment. On the other hand, food and drinks, you take it, at the time of taking it, you make it part of your body. So your attachment can be towards the things that you consider as your body, or something outside as well. And actually, what you have to do, you have to have this particular act of Patisevana Patabba at the time of either entering the body or at the time of you consume it, either by taking it inside the body or by holding it. So I think it's a very important concept. It's divided into 2. 2 of the, particularly the 4 basic items that the priest consume. When eat and drink, it's taken in, but robes and particularly your Senasana, they consume without getting in. They are external objects, but without holding, you have to consume that. So it's I think the concept that has been covered by Buddha has a very deep meaning. How does the particularly attachment can take place? You get attached at the time of taking things in, or when you are using it. not necessarily through the touch sensation. You hold it as a part of your extension of your body. You can't consider it as a part of the body, but you consider it as a particularly extension from the body that is considered as things belongs to you by holding into it. It can be with attachment, it can be without attachment. So I think I went into Patisevana instead of you while speaking in the particularly our Sangvara Tabba stage. So Sangvara Tabba, we have heard about the formation of symbols, but that is related to addressing your mind, inner mind, to get a deeper meaning. But Sangvara Pahatabba in the Sabbāsava Sutta does not end there. That's what I want to tell basically. We know all our discussions earlier were restricted to Kāmasava because we were looking at the Kāma Bhava. But Asava is not restricted to Kāma. There is Kāmasava, Bhavasava and Avidyasava. So it very specifically says Bhavasava part has to be covered in the, when we are saying Asava Pahatabba, the basically Sangvara Pahatabba, that also has to be addressed. It's been specially mentioned in the Sabbāsava Sutta. So we are looking at although that it is probably our at the time of attaining so on, we have not achieved that part, but the process of asavakkhaya really should address into the activities beyond Kāmasava. So I think I am just trying to speak about few things here and there, not in a particular order, but I think to see the process of the depth that covered in the sutta. So it is to be done at the time of that that act taking place. So we have basically covered three. I think the Dasana Pahatabba, Sangvara Pahatabba, and Patisevana Pahatabba. I think Patisevana is the word. Patisevana Pahatabba in the which covers the consuming of food, drinks, clothes, and the particularly your senasana, basically your living place. We'll stop here. Basically what I think is it's a deeper subject which will require more and more discussions, which we may not be able to do it